Good evening and welcome to our second round of our Lukáš Vidra Trophy 2023 Championship, coming to you tonight from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway for the Indianapolis 500 race day. Qualifying last weekend, but now it's the real deal, where we see which drivers will succeed and which drivers will, let's call it, not succeed. With me in the booth tonight I have Alberto Ibañez. Good evening. Are you with us, Alberto?
Good evening.
There you are. Good evening.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening, Jonatan. I'm pleased to be here as usual, and what a fantastic show we have ahead of us. No other than the Indy 500 from the very own Temple of Speed. Incredible thing that we are going to watch today.
It's definitely promising to be one of the most interesting championship races we've had in quite a while. The 500, obviously, 500 grueling miles, and on top of that, some newcomers, some old guys, all of them wanting to reach the top step of the podium. As we are speaking, I can see the marching band preparing down at the start line, so we'll hand over to the Indiana State marching band for the Indiana State Anthem. Thank you very much to the Indiana State Marching Band for the Anthem of Indiana. Quite a bit of things for us to go through here, so we'll see how much we get through before our next guest steps into proceedings. But the track itself, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, also known as the Brickyard. 2.5 mile rectangular oval, 4 turns, and our drivers will be trying to complete 200 grueling laps to complete the 500 miles that this evening entails. And based on what we've seen, that's going to be quite a difficult task.
Yeah, it's certainly one of those races that put both man and machine to the test. I mean, you need to be very concentrated to keep your cool when you're going to those very high-speed turns, and at the same time, you have to keep up with the traffic. Traffic is so dangerous on ovals, all the turbulences from the aero effects of the cars around you, all the things that you have to manage in the car at the same time, like the oil pressure, the temperature, the fuel consumption, the moment that you have to go into the pits for your routinary pit stops and all that, and that everything goes perfectly right in your car and nothing is wrong and you don't have to stop too early. All that combined with the stress that this puts into the machinery, I mean, this is really like an endurance race at the pace of a Formula One race. It's something really unique, a unique event that it's going to be really, really hard on the drivers and machines.
Indeed, and part of I suppose, the biggest difficulty for the drivers in a way, along with keeping the machines running at all, is having fuel for the full event as well, with 277 US gallons, or roughly 1,048 liters for the race, to get them those 500 miles out of the car.
Yes, fuel is limited, that's as per the rules, and that means the drivers have to play with the boost knob and make sure that they are doing the proper mileage for every lap that they are logging in. And that's quite a stressful thing because, you know, you need to check every lap that you have done. You need to see if you have been up or below the target fuel use that you have been set before the start of the race. Because if you have been saving fuel, then you are able to up the boost knob and do some overtaking and maybe try to put a bit of a fight and go up some places and do a bit of a sprint in some parts of the race. But if you are well below, if you are well above the fuel limit and you need to go below the normal speed that you are used to, you might be simply a sitting duck at the end of the race. So this is something that usually unfolds always towards the end of the race and produces some dramatic finishes.
That is definitely very true indeed.
And I should also note that the fuel consumption plays a role also in the fuel temperature and the engine temperature, of course, because the more fuel you use and the quicker you are going, the higher the temperatures are rising. Wilkes, which is our master physics model, has already warned people that 104 degrees is the safe temperature for the oil, and the more you go above that temperature when you're sprinting or doing overtakes or whatever, is just basically eating life away from your engine. So you need to have here much of a juggling game between being quick enough and being safe enough, both on the fuel and engine temperature sides. So this is really, like I said, something quite complicated. I mean, for European viewers who are not used to oval racing, this is like, oh, wow, I mean, 500 miles turning left all the time, foot on the floor. How hard can it be? Well, it's actually really, really complicated mentally wise, as I'm already outlining it to you.
Indeed. And we of course also have the points for the Lucas Ritter Trophy, which this is part of this year's best driver, I suppose one could call it. Where points will be dished out to the top 10 in this race. 45 points for first, 36 for second, 30 for third, 24 for fourth, 18 for fifth, 15 for sixth, 12 for seventh, 9 for eighth, 6 for ninth, and 3 points to the 10th place finisher. And I think as long as you, even if you retire but you are in 10th by the time everyone else has retired as well, you still get those 3 points.
Yeah, I think it's American rules for the way, and this is one of those races that, because of the length, it has a big wave on the Lucas Vidra Trophy. So this is actually a place where you want to do well, no matter if you are actually winning the race or not, because it's really important if you are fighting towards that trophy.
Indeed. And looking at the standings themselves, Cesariusz Lapinski is currently leading it, with Grant in second, Wilkes in third, Santoram in fourth, and Nilsson in fifth, as per the last time out when our drivers did the BMW M1s. And just to quickly glance over the HSO ISO Indianapolis 500 results, this is as far back as when we were still affiliated with HSO. In 2009, The winner was Bouchot, and the same for 2010. Then in 2014 we did a 1960 race with JP Kampmeier winning the race. 2015 Richard Coxon got the win, 2016 Peter Blom, 2017 Jari Brupacher, in a year where Swiss drivers took home the Triple Crown, though not the same Swiss driver for each of them. 2018 Austin Johnson took the win, 19 it was Mick Chapman, 2020 was David Yates, 2021 was Schlapinski, and 2022 was again Coxon. So two-time winners so far, and we'll see if we get another one or if we get a new one. It'll be very interesting to watch either way. And
yeah, noteworthy indicating that many of those drivers are not in the grid anymore. Time passes by, and I think we miss all Richard Coxon, who has always been a favorite from the crowds and a very gentlemanly driver. But we got Cesare Slapinski there, so let's see if he can somehow revive that success.
Indeed. But as I speak, Jim Neighbors, I notice, are getting ready to sing Back Home Again in Indiana. So I'll hand over to good old Jim, and we'll be back shortly.
Back home again in Indiana, and it seems that I can see the gleaming candlelight still burning bright through the sycamores for me. The newborn hay sends all its fragrance through the fields I used to roam. When I dream about the moonlight on the water, how I long for my Indiana home.
Our heartfelt thanks to Jim Neighbors for lending us his voice once again for the Indianapolis 500. We are shortly heading into the race session, but let's have a quick look at the grid for everyone to see. There we are. So on pole we will see Brian Yannick with an average speed of 210.322 mph. Adam Hackman in the number 1 Budweiser car lines up second at a 210.154 mph average, and Juha Boos lines up third in the number 7, 210.122 miles per hour. And then there's a tiny bit of a gap, almost a mile an hour, to Jason White, who will be starting in 4th at an average of 209.208. Then we have a newcomer to us, but a well-known face in sim racing circles, Jacob William, at an average speed of 209.117 will line up 5th for this race. Dana Schurrer will line up 6th in her number 29 machine. Jacob Fredriksson will be 7th, and Anders Nilsson will line up 8th. Grant Goodall will line up 9th with John Tim in 10th. Then we have Wilkes 11th, Tim 12th, Ray Riddall 13th, Schlapinski 14th, Raul Jareb 15th, August Watering 16th, Filippo Marazzi 17th, Peter Lavac 18th, Brun Chacon 19th, Jules Bouchard 20th, Luciano Roja 21st, David Saber 22nd, Alan Santo 23rd with Drexler 24th, Maximilian Petrovski, another rookie, in 25th, Hedison Oliveira 26th, Aaron Curtis 27th, Ian May 28th, I believe, Simon Wattman 29th, Della Cella 30th, and David Wattman will line up 31st and last, as his car was qualified by Alberto Ibañez. You yourself.
Yeah, that's me. It was one. It was always fun qualifying that car. I mean, the qualifying at Indy is something special. Those who haven't watched it, go and look at the broadcast there, because it was. I mean, it's an
After the
event in
race has
itself.
finished, I might add.
Yeah.
But indeed, that is one you all should definitely go ahead and watch. As you can see, all the drivers lining up on the grid as the pace car is going away from the grid, and we can see, due to the limitations of AMS, it is a 2-wide start instead of the traditional 3-wide.
Which is probably to only help a bit with safety.
Indeed.
3 cars going all together into one of these turns is always something dangerous. So I think this is the moment of playing the guessing game, Jonathan. So who do you think is going to come out on top here?
Ooh, that is a very difficult question to answer. I would say it would be difficult not to bet against someone like Adam Hackman, who we have seen have won before. I would also be interested to see in what Jacob William will be able to do in his first, as far as I'm aware, his first online Indy 500. As well as what my fellow Swede Anders Nilsson can do from, I think it was 8th on the grid.
Lots of quality drivers here. I think it's also hard to bet against Brian Janik, who is so quick, so incredibly quick. Then you have Adam Hackman with his experience, but I'm going to put my money on Juha Boss. You know, just because we're friends and because he's so quick, and, you know, he's a bit like the underdog. He's the guy you might not be expecting, and then, like in Canada, he comes up with a Ferrari and wins the race.
Indeed. As we'll see all the drivers come through turn 4 in a moment to get the race underway.
Yeah, safety car heading now into the pits, I think. There he goes. And they should be speeding up now for have a thundering rolling start.
So green flag will be out momentarily. Oh, we can see a bit of a grouping up here, but green flag is out. Race is underway, and look at the start Juha Boss has got. Juha Boss straight up into the lead. So Yannick a bit slow. Juha Boss is right on it. As we can see, everyone streaming through turn 1.
Bit of a bottleneck there, but everyone made it safely.
Indeed,
Let's
but
see how they go.
Go ahead. Looks like everyone survived.
Yeah, they are really slotting behind each other, and
has Juha Boss hit the wall?
no, I think that was Jason White, who is now going backwards quickly.
No, that's Juha Boss, down from 1st to 4th in a straight line.
Oh dear.
That's Fredriksson with a great start, Grant with all likewise, and Yannick back in the lead.
Might have been that, he had to cut because of something, but yeah, he seems to be definitely a bit slower down the main streak. Jacob William is now right behind him.
And as we can see, everyone streaming through here going into turn 1. Santo and might have been Jereb side by side.
Oh, Grant Bridal as usual with his thunderstorm starts. There he goes into the lead.
Yep, in the
that guy's
14.
in a hurry. I mean, damn the machinery.
Oh, indeed, indeed.
Full speed ahead.
You're not wrong, and Fredriksson trying to hook on, and Boss and William running together a little bit further back. Oscar Tim, another group back, and then a long stream of cars running together. Shure with a lackluster start, down to 15th from her top 6 starting position.
Yep, and Jakob Fredriksson just overtook Brian Janik there. Now they are together into turn 2. Janik returns him the favor. But you know, one of the things that I'm looking here at the start of the race, and I'm liking it, is how Brian Janik is taking things, because Fredriksson basically stormed by using the power of the engine, but Janik was absolutely unfazed. I mean, he's the guy who is now staying cool and keeping his own pace, and that's a very good sign. That's exactly what you need to do to be there at the end of these 500 miles.
Indeed, and looked like Fredriksson likewise had the run going into turn 3 there, but decided to, nah. Oh, actually, here he comes down the start-finish straight. Oh, he backs up, though. So all is well, and he remains behind. That's one of those, let's just see what kind of runs I can get on Janik, it seems like. As Jacob Williams taken 4th away from Bors, and Oscar Tim has relieved him as well, so maybe Bors in a bit of trouble here. Back 2 more positions, so definitely looking after the car. And I notice another one who's dropped quite a ways back is Jason White at the moment in 18th.
Yeah, these are in these first laps, this is the moment where you are actually gauging and feeling how your car is going compared with the traffic, considering the conditions of the track and everything. And now, I mean, people might joke here a bit for positions and try to slot themselves where they are comfortable, but what we should be seeing is that in 5 or 10 laps, everything is like settled down, everybody's in their own rhythm, and the race like stabilizes a bit while we go into the long-term strategy mode.
Indeed, looks like Adam Hackman is doing the long-term strategy for sure. He was up there at the start as well, down to 14th at the moment. Just let 2 cars by, going rather slowly by the looks of things. Comparatively speaking. I wonder...
we got Michael Dressler already in the pits.
Oh
I don't
no!
know if that's repairs. He's coming out now, probably a new set of tires.
Or maybe picked up a puncture then?
Could be.
Oh, he's actually, let's see, 4 laps, 5 laps. Yeah, that's a quick stop, so that's probably a puncture that he was forced to repair. Let's see if he's able to keep the car below the yellow line, like the USAC man has asked all the drivers to do until they get to the exit of turn 2. Nicely done, Michael, really nicely done. All good. Michael rejoins, 31st, but still running. That's the most important part. Another one with a slow start is Watering, down in 26th at the moment. Aaron Curtis is another one of our newcomers and rookies here. Grant Ridall sets another fastest lap, 44.750. He's definitely trying to blitz the field. Aaron Curtis driving one of the Arciero racing machines tonight, and did a very good job in qualifying. And looks to be just settling in and getting a feel for how everyone races around here. That can be a daunting task when it's your first race, especially in the 500-mile one.
Yeah, especially in one of those cars, because that's a 2-year-old car by the mod time. It's March 85, and that's really machinery that it's very much out of date here. Yeah,
for sure. As Hackman loses another position, looks like he's running along the walls a little bit. To get out of the way even, but True Sports down to 18th, Hlavac in the Bettenhausen car up to 17th. Looks like Dana Schur and Jason White are running together. We saw that back when we did 73s, but here comes White, powering past Schurer and taking away 14th. Looks like Jason has found his feet and are feeling more happy with the car at the moment.
Yeah, sometimes you're too nervous, and at the moment of the start and all that, you're just too cautious. You don't want to get involved.
Oh no, we have a crash! Jos Buchard is out! Oh, that's a heavy crash too. Hopefully no one gets collected here. Jules retires. Let's see what happened. Oh, he came down just a bit too tight on turn 3. Got the left-hand side wheel under the yellow line, and unfortunately it hooked the car up and it spat him the other way. Rear-ended the outside barriers, and he was very lucky to not be collected by a couple of drivers as they tried to scramble around him as he came to a standstill.
Yeah,
Oh,
the apron is very treacherous here in this track, and it's very well justified why the marshals and the Indy directors back then clearly told the drivers to stay off of it, because sometimes, depending on the handling of your car, the fuel load and all that, you can gain a bit of advantage putting a wheel there, but most of the time what will happen is that it will simply spin you.
and I noticed, unfortunately, as well, Angel May has been in the repairs with the NFW racing machine. So a couple of laps back, but still running. When lap traffic for the leaders at the moment has started.
Speaking of Angel Mai, here comes the leader to lap her. Grant Vidal now logging another lap in 46, which means he has settled into much slower rhythm than the best he could, which was 44.7. But again, I mean, true and loyal to his own style, storming away at the beginning, opening a gap and managing it. Very much like Wayne Rainey did back then when he was racing motorcycles and teaching everybody how you manage race.
Indeed.
Whether the machinery can withstand the punishment, that's another story, but we will see.
Quite so. It's one of those, you weigh your options. Do you want the gap or do you want to try and hold on effectively? As we can see here, Ray Riddle in 6th at the moment. He is driving the machine that took pole in the real life 87 Indy 500. I think finished 9th with a valve spring failure. We have Oscar Tim and Jacob William, 3 guys running together and lapping cars. Oh, and here comes Ray Riddle with a great slingshot, going past Oscar Tim. And Oscar not fighting it at all. He's going, well, fine, go ahead. I'm happy to sit back here and just have a bit of a look.
Yeah, it's like I said, I mean, we are going to see here how many people, when they settle into the rhythm, but they come to another car that is going a bit slower, we're going to see what I like to call slow motion overtaking, which means 2 people are set in a rhythm. Neither of them wants to really get away from it. They don't want to risk anything. But at some point, of course, you're quicker than the guy in front, so you need to do something about it. You're going to overtake, but we are not likely to see like a fight or someone fending off the other guy or anything like that. I mean, everyone is settled into the rhythm. They know that there is nothing they can do, especially at this point of the race. I mean, if we were in the last 20 laps, that would be quite different. But not at this time.
Indeed.
It's this is the thing that we can recall here what the great Al Unser 4 times winner said. What you need to do in these 500 milers is for the first half of the race, you need to basically just stay in the lead lap, no matter where you are, even if you're the last, but stay in the lead lap. And then once you're past that, start racing. That's the moment when you are actually looking at what you have left in terms of fuel, how the car feels, you have a good knowledge of the track, of the people around you. The ones that were wild and furious and fast and quick and just dropped away have been already long gone. And that's the moment when you start seeing clearer the picture and you can start to be taking chances and getting into a quicker rhythm.
I think for the drivers, they need to finish complete at least 31 laps each stint, I believe.
Yes.
Oh, Grant Redolin slowing down. Jacob Fredriksson just came flying past like he hadn't. He was like Grant was standing still.
I can see low. I mean, the turn speed wasn't bad, but there were low RPMs here, and he is now catching up quicker. Either that was a bit of a driving error, and he lost a lot of speed and basically more than speed momentum, or he just wanted, because of a strategic decision, to let Jacob go in front. we should be seeing in the next laps. But I can see that the car is handling well, RPMs are climbing and all that. So I don't know. I mean, it doesn't seem to me as if he had real trouble here.
Definitely a possibility. It just seems somewhat counterproductive to have gone that hard early and then still decide that, now, okay, I'll just sit behind.
No, I think we must have missed some kind of small slight driving error because remember these cars are doing 230 mph at the end of the straight. I mean, that's quite some speed. They have very long gear ratios because they need to do that with not too high RPMs so as to preserve the engine, the temperatures, the fallout and of that. And what this basically means is that momentum is everything here. You need to put the car up to speed, you need to accelerate it, you need to go constantly picking up speed. And when you exit the pit lane, for example, after a pit stop or after the start, or you have lost too much speed in an incident, if you really take nearly a full lap, oh, I can see there's some smoke in the mystery, you nearly take a full lap until you're up to speed again. And this is the case here for Grand Ridal. You can see now he's right behind Jacob Fredriksson.
And a fastest lap on top of that.
Yeah, yeah, but it took him a full lap. You see, that's what I was implying.
Oh, unfortunately, Aidan May has retired as well by the look of things. I missed that earlier. So that's unfortunate. 2 retirees already, 29 cars remaining in this race. Almost a 10th of the way in. Grant nibbling at the yellow line. You don't want to do that too often. We've seen what that can do already. Oh no, there's a spinner in front! Oh dearie me, that looks like...
Aaron Curtis, is that? With the March 85?
Let's see, it is indeed. He's nicely done. He's gotten the car to the bottom of the track safely. Very good recovery from Aaron there. Hopefully the crew will be able to repair the car to be within driving order. Looks like he has at least a puncture and maybe more. Let's see if we can possibly catch on the replay what happened. Looks like another one of those just nibbled the yellow line a bit too much maybe. Coming through turn 3 into turn 4. Yeah, got a little bit too low. I think maybe that was expecting more dirty air than he got. And that's why he ended up getting just a bit too low on the track, because with the high speeds that these guys are going, you need to sort of set up a good 50 yards before you turn, because you need to get all the weight right and all the trajectory right to get through the turn. Otherwise you just go wide and risk hitting the wall on the exit instead.
Yeah, from my experience, I think you can go to the apron, put the wheel there, but you need to be on the throttle. The problem is if you put the wheel there while you are actually off the throttle, then you can have lots of problems.
That's definitely something that could be the case. I haven't done enough laps myself to have a further comment on that, but yeah, that's definitely an unfortunate incident for Aaron, but hopefully the pit crew will be able to repair it. We can see here you have Bors, number 7 in 7th place, doing a very good job so far, sticking within striking distance despite dropping back a little bit early on. Anders Nilsson has made his way up a couple of places, number 97 in the Wen's car.
Yeah, and I can see Maximilian Putravki also speeding into the infield.
Oh dearie me, I think he was in around 13th or 14th or so. Looks like he is unfortunately retired now. Oh no, that looks like a pass by number 3. I'm unsure who's driving that car tonight. Still can't see it, but there was contact between Putravski and him, and hard into the inside barriers, and unfortunately Putravski outside, inside barrier, and that's all she wrote. That's really too bad.
I can see right now that, for example, Brian Janik just lost 2 places in a split second, and that's what happens. I mean, the speeds here are so high that if you get, for example, a turn wrong and you have to lift, you get immediately 2 cars blasting by at 220 mph. And until you are up to speed again, it takes a long, long time. I mean, they open a big gap. So consistency is absolutely key here. You need to keep your momentum, you need to keep your consistency, you need to be logging the laps. It doesn't matter if you're really that ultimately quick, but you need to be very, very constant, because you will be paying very dearly for any situation where you have to lift or you have to lose speed.
Indeed. Going through the rest of the grid as we see things happen and not happen. Ślepiński qualified in 18th, I believe, up to 9th at the moment. Nigh on the same qualifying position Al Unser had in the number 25 machine when he won this race in 87. I'm unsure if we have number 25 on the grid this year.
No, it isn't.
So we'll have at least a new winner. That is different. David Saber also qualified towards the back, but in 10th at the moment. Not a qualifying driver, but definitely a race driver. Doing very well so far. Richard Wilkes, likewise, a little bit further back in the qualifying order, but up to 11th for Curb. Jon Tim running nicely for Hemelgarn in 12th. I think that's the first of the Hemelgarn cars, and that is one of the Hondas, I believe.
And I think the most, I would say that the most remarkable thing up to this moment in the race is how Jakob Fredriksson is living in one of the Buick cars.
Indeed, indeed.
That's historically speaking quite a bit of exception, because these cars, everybody knows they were quick, they had a very powerful engine, but they were sluggish and ungainly because of the extra weight. Jakob is making them work very well here. And, well, we know they are not very reliable either, so let's see what happens.
Indeed, and something to notice, Jakob has made off-handling cars handle very well previously. He won in the Pocono 500 when we did the 73 and 74 championships.
Very true.
Another of the 500s in those championships. As well as David Saber, who just passed Ślepiński that lap, did the fastest lap so far in the Dick Simon Racing entry. That is mightily impressive. David really feeling at home at the moment. Raoul Reb, one of our, I would almost like to call him a oval specialist. All his best results have been at ovals. Running 13th at the moment for Gallus. Jason White in the number 20 Patrick Racing, currently still running in 14th, with Adam Hackman now in 15th, so both of them holding back and running calm at the moment. Peter Lavac 16th, with Luciano Roja in 17th. Dana Schurer runs 18th, with Alan Santo in 19th, and has just been lapped, it looks like, by one or two laps ago maybe, as Jacob William and Ray Riddle sneaks past. August Watering in 20th at the moment, in the second of the AJ40 Enterprises entries. The lesser of the entries, shall we say. Filippo Marazzi in 21st. Hedison Oliveira currently running in 22nd. We have Bruno Chacon running in 23rd for Vince Granatelli. David Wattman currently 24th in the Walter car. And Simon Wattman, his brother, in 25th for the Newman Teamworks. Drexler 26th, and I believe, Della Cella as well, who I think was one of the alternates for this event. Aaron Curtis back out and running. That is very nice to see, that the crew has been able to repair the car within at least driving well enough to where he can keep it between the walls and feel confident enough to continue. As Jacob Williams sets the fastest lap of the race at a 44.1. Dear me, the times are tumbling like crazy now that we are closing in on the end of the race. End of the first stint, I should say.
Yeah, it is. We're on lap 28. Everybody's getting light on fuel, and that's obviously something that helps going quicker. And I think this is a very interesting part of the race, this first stint, because even if we got a flying start, and that means that there was less fuel consumption at the beginning, we are going now to have a peek into what the fuel use of the drivers is. I mean, who can stretch one more lap, for example, the stint, and we'll have probably a decisive advantage later on. I'm really interested in seeing what Jacob can do with that car, because we know that's a bigger engine and it's obviously a fuel guzzler. So I can see that the crew is already impatiently signaling pits, calling him in. Come on, we need to refuel you. But he knows that there are still some drops left in the tank.
Yeah, he
It's
needs
lap 29.
Yeah,
And
needs 31, I
he,
think.
oh, look at that.
Wow, already for both of them?
Yeah, that's going to be
Ooh,
lap 30.
Get it stopped. Ride them horses. Holy moly, that is close.
Yeah,
What about
remember
for...
this,
Oh, Grant held
remember
up a
this,
little bit by Rauli Reb, who's in the pits already as well.
as they go through the start-finish line, even in the pit lane, this is lap 30, which means they have covered 30 laps. The ones that are pitting now, including Juha Boss and everybody. I mean, the ones that are lapping now have 30 laps on a tank. That feels a bit tight to me, to be honest.
Yeah, I think that's too tight. They need 31 laps, I reckon, in a stint to be sure to make it. At a 30-lap stint, they sort of need to run leaner later to be able to make it for sure.
I think this is one of the situations, everybody's human, and they got maybe a bit carried away in the first stint, like saying, no, I want to be quicker, I want to show that guy that I can have the pace, and in the end it's here lap 30 and everybody's pitting, or at least all the leaders. It's going to be interesting how they manage the rest of the race from now on.
Indeed. Oh, and I think that was Alan Santo coming into the pits. Ooh! Oh, that is a tight squeeze, and Ray Riddle will have an even tighter squeeze to get out.
And even Anders Nilsson and Richard Wilkes are in the pits now. So
yeah, but they have done
really
31, nearly 32 laps, I reckon, so that should be good enough. Ray got out okay.
Yeah, for Wilkes is 31, is absolutely on target. But I mean, it's exactly on target. They haven't even saved one extra lap, which we see them sometimes doing. Because these are the drivers that are the smoothest when it comes to saving fuel, you know? And for me, the fact that they are right on the target and everybody else was over it is quite indicating, quite telling that this is going to give us some high drama at the end.
Indeed. Here comes those that have saved the most fuel by the looks of things. Ooh, Slapinski is one of them. He's in on the end of lap 32. And
Slapinski is now in the pits.
I can see number 41 entered as well at that point. I'm unsure. I think that's Aaron Curtis in the 41, is it?
Yeah, I think so.
Let's see as they come out now.
No, that was August Watering, actually.
August Watering has saved a lot of fuel, yeah. So Alan Santos still in the pits, unfortunately, but all others have seemingly completed their pit stops. So back out again is Grant Riddle. Jakob Fredriksson behind him now, but still well within striking distance, as I believe Grant just slightly nudged the wall then. Brian Yannick in third, Jacob William fourth, so that remains the same. Ray Riddle likewise in fifth. Nielsen and Oscar Tim. All-out wars continues. Well, new all-out wars. They weren't together before, but they are now. Slapinski comes out of the pits shortly behind those two. You have Bors in 9th, and Wilkes runs out of top 10 after the pit stops. With Saber close behind and Jon Tim in 12th, Hackman 13th. I believe Hackman saved a little bit of fuel that time maybe, if only just about. Jareb 14th, Shure 15th, Lavac still in 16th, that's a lapper. Rocha in 17th, Jason White 18th, August Watering in 19th, Hedison Oliveira in 20th, Filippo Marazzi 21st, Mikael Drexler 22nd, Bruno Chacon in 23rd. As we can see, I think that's Alan Santo back in the pits.
A blown engine. Someone,
oh no!
I think. There was some smoke there. Let me see who is that in the pits.
That is Alan Santo then, most likely.
Yeah, Alan Santo. Oh, maybe it was a wheel lock because he was missing the pit entry. That's one of the Penske's with the Chevy engine.
Indeed. One of
Yeah,
those with
that
propensity to self-implode.
yeah, tell that to me. But that I think it was a case of locking the wheels, but it was a hell of smoke there, so it could have been really like an engine breakdown. In any case,
Indeed.
some laps ago, when you were running down the grid, I saw one very interesting move. That was Jacob Fredriksson getting the lead again from Grant Ridal, and it was so clever how Jacob did it because he boxed Grant basically against a lapped car. And that was a fantastic move. Really, really a lot of skill there, a lot of forward-looking vision from Jacob. Very good. He's in the lead again. And, well, even if I'm pretty sure that Grant's car is quicker at this point and could go quicker than that, I think he's on the strategic long-term vision and he's just following Jacob. He knows that those big engines are prone to self-destruct, so we will see what happens in the end.
Indeed. And to me it's interesting as well to see Adam Hackman being lapped. Running the True Sports number 1, I would have expected him to have a better early first 50 laps of the race, but now we're lap down. You see quite a gap between 5th and 6th as well. Sorry, go on.
I think that probably he had some kind of damage, maybe from bruising a bit the wall or whatever, and when the crews start repairing it, that put him a lap down.
Maybe that's a possibility. We obviously didn't see everything that happened early on in the race, so it's certainly possible.
So one remarkable thing right now is that even if at some distance, Brian Janick seems to have found his rhythm and settled into it, and he's now third. He's only 6 seconds behind the leader, which in a 500 milers is absolutely nothing. And I mean, there he is waiting for his opportunity.
Indeed.
And look, I mean, I would be delighted and absolutely happy for Jacob Fredriksson, who is a great racer and a great guy all around, win with that Buick engine, but I would not put my money on that. The reliability of that engine is really questionable.
Indeed, and I know one other who would, no matter how it goes for himself, would be over the moon happy with a Buick win, and that's Jason White. Because Buick belonged to the American road.
Yeah.
It's definitely one of those, whenever you see an onboard of any kind of race like this, especially when there's a lot of traffic, commenting on a thing, someone is, one of the viewers are watching as well, Jacob Williams stream over at GP Labs. Seeing the traffic and how you need to work to get past it and how you need to work to control the car and digest the boost and keep the momentum, everything of it. Ooh, I think that might have been Jason White striking the wall. It's, yes, at least for me, and even though I do race, I'm sitting there going like, I couldn't do that. Oh shit, that's happening too quickly. How did they survive that? Constantly, as I watch any kind of onboard from an oval race.
Yeah, the closure speed here is also absolutely crazy. Because, you know, as we have mentioned before, if you have lost some momentum for whatever reason or are coming out of the pits or simply are stuck behind another car and you are going like, let's say, 180 mph or not even 200 mph, you get a car passing you at 230 when they are on the straight, and that's like, that's a lot of speed. That's really a lot of speed. They are going very quick. So it's not like when you're going on the motorway and you are seeing one car at 60 and another at 70 mph.
No, indeed.
You need to anticipate a lot here. You need to be looking like 2 turns ahead because you will be there in no time.
Indeed.
So traffic, yeah, reading traffic is one of the mark of the aces, you know.
And the fact that they can do that while keeping the track on the road is like Because I reckon I could do one or the other. I definitely can't do both very well, personally.
Yeah, the best racers in the trade, especially on ovals, the people like Michael Andretti and the like, and Mario, his father, and all that, for them, having the control of the car and taking it to the limit in the corners, that's a given. What they do, what they put their attention to is actually on the traffic, on all those conditions that are there in the track. While for lesser drivers, obviously, they are so busy just staying alive, keeping the car on the track, that reading the traffic is not even an option for them. And all that, mind you, in the real races, enduring 3-point-something Gs on the corners, on every corner. That's like taking a toll on your body.
Indeed.
So, we're 42 laps into the race. Jacob seems to have a very solid lead. He's 4 seconds ahead of Grant Riddle, who is himself 6 seconds ahead of Brian Janik. But as we have said many times, in a 500 miler, this isn't really a big distance. People, as we predicted, have been setting already into a rhythm. We got Brian Riddle in 5th, Juha Boss in 6th. The Chevy engines are up there. The reliability of them is a question mark, the big question mark, same as with the Buick. And as we saw the last time that we ran this mode, you can have a lot of drama towards the end of the race when the engines that haven't been staying behind the legal limit, so to speak, start to blow up. Oscar team also, very good race from him. He's there with his Cosworth engine, 7th position. But, you know, with all the failures that we are going to see towards the end of the race in the engines, anyone who is here in the, I would say, even top 15, who is in the lead lap, could actually be striking for the win.
As long as they don't get too many laps behind, that's definitely a possibility. It's like even being just 1 lap behind should be within striking distance if and when the engines start crying, "Hey, would you mind? We want a break."
I'm looking here from at some of the cockpits of these guys because I can see the cameras on the cockpit and that, and I can see the RPMs that they are using, how they are pushing or not the engine and all that, but it's a shame that I cannot see the temperatures. That's something that AMS won't live feed you, because it would be interesting. It would be quite telling on whether they are going to be able to make the whole race or not. Jacob held now a bit behind Simon Watman. When you find a car there in the chute, it's nearly impossible to pass. I mean, you need to wait until the main straight.
It's a bit
Jacob's
like...
doing a great race. I mean, he's very, very cool-headed. I mean, he didn't try to storm past that lapped car or anything like that. He's there settling.
Oh, Dana Shura with a spin. Off turn 4. Oh, no, 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 no! Ay, that's a big crash on the start-finish straight. Holy moly!
Oof. Right Riddle was caught in
Oh,
that.
no, that's more cars!
Jason White.
That's Oscar Tim caught in it!
And Right Riddle.
Jason White! Oh, dearie me. Ay. That's really
Jason
too bad.
White's still there.
So let's see what happened
Whoa,
here.
and I see another car there spinning nearly. Someone avoiding him last minute.
Oh, dearie me.
Last
So
moment. Oh, Cesarius Lapinski was that.
that's... Oh... Yeah, that was unfortunately, that looked like Dana Shura trying to keep control of the car, but overcorrected, and with everyone slowing down to avoid all the carnage, more cars got caught up in it. Ay. That's really too bad. That definitely should have been a yellow, but we didn't get one.
Yeah,
So
they
that's-
escaped so quick. I think that the game did not react to that.
Yeah, so that's Dana Schurer out. Aaron Curtis got caught up in it and is out. Jason White got caught in it and is out. Ray Riddle got caught in it when Schurer overcorrected and he's out. Oscar Tim is out as well in the Mola Alex Morales racing car. Looks like those are the ones that are out at the moment. To me, that's really too bad. That's a lot of top quality drivers out in one fell swoop. That's one of those things that can very easily happen on an oval where it's so tight and one mistake can lead to another and it just snowballs into a huge one.
Yep.
Oh, holy moly. Right, so there's somewhat reshaped top side. Top 4 is the same. You have Bose up to 5th then with the demise of Ray Riddle. Anders Nilsson up to 6th. Sabre up to 7th. Wilkes up to 8th. Jon Tim up to 9th. And Adam Hackman up into 10th. Then we have Raul Jareb in 11th. Peter Lavac 12th. August Watering in 13th. Marazzi 14th, Hedison Oliveira 15th. Cesar Slapinski in the pits, so I reckon he may have picked up some damage in all of that. Didn't see him get caught up in it, but seems like it. He's in the pits for a long repair in 17th.
Yeah, I think he was without the front wing some time ago, so yeah, some kind of damage.
Okay, so maybe collected a wheel or something on the way through. So Vatman up to 17th, Slapinski 18th right now. Drexler will be up to 18th now. Vatman in a little bit could be up into 19th. Luciano Rocha as well must have got caught up in that because he's in the pits for repairs as well. And that looks like pretty much everyone. Greg Della Cella survived and will be, I reckon, 21st or 22nd after a few more laps here. We have Alan Santo as well, who... Oh no, he's down below the yellow line, off in the high wall. Brings the car down to the grass, hard into the barrier and loses the rear right, and that's unfortunately the end of Alan's race. Sorry about that, Alan. I'd call it my fault for getting to you at that very moment. That's really too bad for everyone. That got caught up in or later on affected in any way.
Yeah. That's like a lot of cars wiped out in only a few laps, but that's how things go.
Indeed, indeed. As Wilkes is about to be lapped by the Buick as well, in the hands of Fredriksson. Yeah. There he goes.
It's going to be an emptier track for everybody now.
Indeed, indeed.
Which also should be a bit safer. But that's, I mean, that's the normal thing in 500 milers. You got 30-something starters and then it starts clearing up and it becomes a kind of a different battle when the traffic is no longer such a factor as it was at the beginning. I should say though that we are quite early into the race. We're only a quarter into it, 51 laps, so... So we got now, I think that's 21 cars with Cesario standing in the pits.
22 because Luciano Rocha is still running as
well.
Right,
right. Yeah, he's going to track now, actually, after some repairs. That's the car that I drove last time, Rick Mears' car. It handled well. It pushed very well with that Chevy engine, but it let me down like, I think it was like 8 or 10 laps to the finish. Oh well, Chevy engines of the time.
It's one of those many what-ifs. Unfortunately, in the racer's life. Interesting that you said earlier Yannick looks to be settled in. He might be, but closing in from behind is Jacob William. Only 2 seconds behind now.
But we'll see. We should be like a handful of laps away from the second pit stops of the race. It should be happening about lap 62 or something like that. 60 to 62. And I think then we will have a clearer picture of who is hitting the marks and who is on target with the fuel and who isn't.
Definitely so.
Though I have the feeling that because you have to mix two things here, which is oil temperature and fuel use, what we probably might be seeing here is that some people are going quicker at the beginning, not really caring too much about the fuel and just watching the oil. They are just trying to be on the oil temperature, and they pretend to build some kind of lead or advantage or at least the best possible situation in whatever position they are in. And then towards the end of the race, it will be the opposite. They will start caring about the fuel and going probably much slower because they know that going slower basically means that you're also cooling down your oil. So you're hitting two birds with the same stone.
Indeed.
Whether that backfires or not, that's something that remains to be seen, of course. But you know, this is one of the fun things of these races, and that's all the guesswork. People have been, of course, practicing offline. I know that some people are very used to running full simulation, full races offline, no matter how many hours they spend on that. And well, you always try to account for all the variables, but the great thing about racing is that it's absolutely impossible to have everything under check. Anything can happen, and usually does when you're in race conditions.
That's definitely the case. It's there's an old warrior saying, I believe it is I think it's one of the old Japanese samurai tacticians who said, "No plan survives contact with the enemy," and in this case, the enemy is the race itself.
Yeah, Sun Tzu, wasn't that?
That's the one indeed.
That was, I think, a Chinese general. I don't know. I'm not too much versed on Oriental history.
Oh yeah, it could
but
be
yeah.
Chinese as well.
There was another version of that Mike Tyson used to say when they interviewed him before the fights, and he said everybody has got a plan until they get punched on the nose. So. But yeah, that's very much the situation here. Because I know I've been Jacob into the pits again in lap 59. In terms of well use, that doesn't look really good.
Well, and like start of lap 60, but yeah, that is tight.
Yeah, he should be on lap 62, mind you, if he had gotten the 31 lap target. So, wondering what's going to happen here.
I wonder if this is the case of him trying to make sure he's at the front for when everything happens and he's set and ready to be able to effectively back off later. But 2 laps already, that seems a bit excessive to back off.
Could also be the case that some people are hoping for yellows. We know that, well, the way the game works and that it's very hard to get yellows here, and we have seen here that crashes. And if people had not escaped immediately after the car got to a standstill, we probably would have gotten a yellow. But people are like quick to quit. They don't want, obviously, to cause any harm to other races that could hit them. We already had enough of that, so it's unlikely that we are going to see a yellow so easily, especially now that there are less cars on the track.
Indeed.
Yeah, it's Grand Prix also in the pits now. Lap 61, though, for him seems a bit more logical.
At least closer to the target, indeed.
Yeah, much closer. But I can see that the other people in the top, like Anders Nilsson and Richard Wilkes, and that they are really staying on track. They are not going so quick into the pits. They are more conscious of the fuel use. Nilsson and Wilkes, who by the way are running nearly together, and probably also being good friends, sharing the setup with the peculiarities that each one likes. It's interesting because they are signaling pits. Oh yeah, Nilsson I think nearly breached the wall there. Let's see if they come now in. Yeah, they seem to be going in, both of them. And John Tim also. So let's see who is quicker in the pits. The order was Nilsson, Wilkes, Tim. Let's see what happens here once the pit stops are over. Remember, Nilsson, Wilkes, Tim. Last to get into the box, Richard Wilkes. Yeah, with the car very much.
Very aggressively saying, I'm going for first.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh, Jacob William also there. Maybe one man coming out of the pits.
That is
Filippo Marazzi and Wilkes.
Wow,
that
Wilkes
was
with a
very
stop.
quick.
Holy moly. Here
John
comes
Tim
Oscar
is
Tim,
next.
and Anders may have very well nudged the wall in because that was a very slow stop for him.
Yeah, the one who was on top is coming out last.
Yes, and even William, who entered later and exits earlier than Nilsson. Wowee.
Yeah, quite complicated now having to get up to speed. Takes nearly up into turn 3 or even 4 until the cars are up to speed. And of course the tires are not even warm. Oh, and Michael Drexler hits the wall. He got into the slipstream of Richard Wilkes, who was going into the corner. Maybe didn't expect that. And he hit the wall. But went immediately into the infield. Always Watering now completing his own pit stop.
Yeah, that was very close to rear-ending Wilkes. Very heads-up driving there from Drexler to get the car low for sure.
Yeah, he's really there without front wing, but heading into the pits.
That's really too bad, but at least looks like he should be able to fight for another day. I noticed another thing that was a huge gap. OS, there's a big battle pack here by the looks of things. OS Lavach touches the wall. Let's see, where was that battle pack? I just noticed it. Oh, it was a couple of lap cars. We put Hackman, Yareb with a couple of lap cars. We're running very close together there. But I noticed at the front, it's over 20 seconds to gap now for Fredriksson over Ridol. I wonder if that's all down to Grant backing off so much that he saved fuel for a lap extra. That seems a bit excessive. Oh, but if they stopped at the same time last time, so maybe Grant running a further lap meant that he ran out of fuel partway through, and that's why he lost so much time. Just putting that out there, but yeah. With Fredriksson with a huge lead here, let's have a little gander at the Twitter question for this evening, so that all of you have something to ponder as we follow the rest of the race as it continues onwards. I wonder. I'm not sure who Mako Sato is in the broadcast, but internet caused a DNF. I wonder if that may have been lag then for someone, or a straight up DNF that we didn't catch on to earlier. But either way, to the quick trivia question, the first for this evening. We have a few more just in case. So the first one for you this evening is which driver achieved the best Indy 500 finish for the Buick V6 engine? Was it A, Pancho Carter? Was it B, Al Unser? Or was it C, Jim Crawford? I, for myself, have no idea, but it's something to think about for the next 30 or so laps, I reckon. Alberto, do you have a guess already? Do you wish some time
I would
to
go
think about
with. I know for sure Al answer isn't the case, so it's either Pancho Carter or Jim Crawford, but I'd say just, I don't know, maybe Jim Crawford.
Okay, we'll keep that in mind for later. So 20 seconds gap for Ericsson to grid all. Then a 7 roughly second gap between him and Jacob William, who's up to third. Brian Yannick down to fourth in those pit stops. Further 4 seconds back. And another further 4 seconds back is Juha Bo. So Juha has come out of this situation quite well. Definitely within striking distance, but almost a full lap behind Fredriksson. That is maybe a bit too far behind to be happy with, but like we said, reliability is part of the game as well. David Saber lies 6th at the moment, with Wilkes in 7th, Jon Tim in 8th, Anders Nilsson with this slow pit stop down to 9th, and Raul Jareb currently rounds up the top 10 after these spur of pit stops. Adam Hackman just behind him in 11th for True Sports, Peter Larach in 12th, Watering in 13th, as I think that was Drexler rejoining the race. Hedison Oliveira up to 14th now, with Filippo Marazzi in 15th. Bruno Chacon in 16th, and David Wattman we saw just be lapped by Filippo Marazzi in 17th. Simon Wattman in 18th. Greg Della Cella running 19th. Luciano Roja running 20th, and Miguel Drexler, I believe, is not the final runner still. He is 21st. Final runner in the race at the moment is Serge Lapinski after his very long repairs after being caught up in that big one. Oh no, wow, he saved it! Holy... Oh my god! That was so surefire to call him in the wall then. Let's watch on board as he saves this sideways moment. Oh, I'm stressed and I can't imagine what he was feeling. I think the pit crew will need to prepare a new set of undergarments for him as well for his next pit stop. My god. Oh. Wow.
That's not just a matter of having quick hands. It's also very important to get a feeling for the moment when the car is going to snap in the opposite direction and be sure to ease on the steering wheel.
Indeed. That is... either that's pure out-and-out talent, or a bit of, I've done that a few times before, I know roughly what I need to do, let's do that. Oof, that was scary. We can definitely see now the track is a little less crowded by the looks of things. There are more sort of small groups that have formed and odd ones by ones running here. can see there comes William. And here's Brian Yanning, and right behind there, the white car, I believe, was Juha Boss. No, that's Nilsson. Boss a couple of cars further back. This looks to be the battle to wait for now. Actually, Wilkes and John Tim is very close as well. Running nose to tail. Wilkes currently ahead by just a little bit. As
Grant
lap
just
car
overtook
between them.
Wilkes.
Yeah, I think Grant got in between them. They were running within 1 or 2 tenths, but then I believe Grant will have gotten in between them, and that held. Oh, Grant with a very slow lapping there.
Yeah, he got into the wake of Greg de la Chella's car. He got probably too quick. Grant is too used to doing that a bit in a more aggressive way in road racing, and here the wake is so big. I mean, you got a lot of washout from the car.
And that held up Wilkes, who didn't want to unlap himself because he can't really stay ahead of Grant with his pace at the moment, and that allowed John Tim to get right up behind him again in that Honda-powered March, I think that is. Apologies for the slight technical issues, if you were hearing some mic stuttering there. Looks like Hackman is running in behind you. They just have to save fuel back there. Definitely looks like Ridol has backed off. Jacob looks to be running his pace for now and maybe backing off far later in the race. But either way, 25 seconds to gap now, or as you alluded to earlier, Alberto, waiting for a yellow in the case for Jacob.
Yeah, it's unlikely to happen, but you can understand that that's a bit what Jacob would really wish for, because it's that Puig seems to be really a gas guzzler. I mean, you always have the chance and the option, let's say, to go slower at the end and let things, whatever has to happen can happen, mind you. You just try to do your homework, doing the best that you can, opening a gap and keeping the engine temperature fine and that, and towards the end of the race you will see where you are. I mean, this is one of those races that is so strategic and you need to be so long-term thinking that sometimes it ends up being even quite the opposite. I mean, you need to be long-term thinking in what you are going to do to stay there the whole race. But you know, towards the end of the race, you're actually at the mercy of the luck of what the others have done and all that. The only thing that you can program is what you want to do long-term. And then see what's going to happen at the end.
Indeed. Which, with the pace, could see maybe Hackman and the True Sports come flying towards the end. As well for maybe Wilkes, Tim, Nilsson, Jereb as well.
I think right now we got the top 5 are in the lead lap. And then there are until the 11th, up to 11th, they are only 1 lap behind. So I would say that, of course, anyone in the top 5 has a good chance of winning the race, but depending on how reliability plays out and what can happen at the top and all that, even the guys who are 1 lap behind could actually have a chance. So we will see. I mean, we're actually right now only 80 laps into the race. We're not even halfway.
Indeed. And I would also like to point towards the screen that I've been keeping on behind while we've been discussing the ins and outs of that. Jacob William has made his way past Yannick up into third. And pulling away slowly but surely from Yannick. And showing some prominence in lapping as well. Caught Chacon going into turn 1-2, but held back all the way through to take him on the exit of 2.
Yeah, I can see in the lap times that Yannick is as fast as Jake Williams, but the difference is that he's not so consistent. Be it because of traffic or adjusting the car or whatever, he has had several laps where he didn't really make the lap times that he should have been doing. And that's what has put him down to 4th.
And honestly, within the clutches of Juha Boos as well, who's only 2 seconds behind now.
Yeah, with Juha, I think it's very much a case of he could be so much quicker with that Chevy engine behind him, but he's very, very aware of that, and he doesn't want to push it to the limit. So he's probably nursing the engine because he wants to make it to the end, and then, like I said, once you're there in the final laps and that, then well, you will see where you are and what is worth doing or not.
Indeed. Indeed.
One thing is for sure, it's absolutely stupid to be taking risks on lap 80. You can take risks when you are on lap 190, 180, whatever. I mean, if you have chances, by all means, if you have the chance to go for the race and you are 20 laps from the end, then yeah, by all means, crank up the boost and go for it. Because what can you lose? I mean, especially here, because we're talking here, Lucas Vidra Trophy race, we're not in the middle of the IndyCar Championship, as we were the last time that we raced this. So, and even if everyone wants to win the Indy 500, you could also say, okay, well, some people are thinking in championship terms, so yeah, Indy is nice, but I'm looking at winning the whole season. But no, that's not the case here. So nothing to lose. If you are in a position to go for the race when there's 20 laps to race, let's say when you got only the last stint, then by all means, I mean, maximize the fuel that you've got and go for it. Because if the engine hasn't blown, it either will blow anyway, no matter what you do, or it won't. So,
Indeed. It's very much a walking the line sort of deal in a lot of this race. I must say it's very nice to see David Saber with a good race so far. He deserves a good event. He's had a lackluster couple of years really, with few results to go with very good efforts, and this is looking good so far. Don't go off now. Don't touch the wall, David. Keep it going. Richard Wilkes in 7th at the moment, with Jon Tim still close behind him in 8th. You can see that's Jacob William, I believe, behind these two. Nilsson currently still sitting in 9th, about 15 seconds behind the duo in front of him. He has Jareb, who still has Hackman for close company, so I'm very sure Hackman is sitting behind Jareb and just going, thank you, I'll dial down the boost here by a couple of 3 clicks maybe, and I'll be golden. Because I believe that's how he did a lot of his long distance wins last year. When he got his, I think he got 3 wins last year. 2 of which were on fuel, I reckon.
Could be, yeah. Man, and Jacob has already a 25 seconds lead. I mean, Just to put that in the picture, Grant, second qualified, is now entering the chute, and now in the last turn, when Jacob is already in the main straight, sorry, the back straight. So that's about half a circuit length in front. That's like really something. Absolutely fantastic pace on that week. And he has shown also that he can be very consistent through all the setup, through all the stint, which means he has a good setup on that car, because with that extra weight that the Buick packs, the fuel affects it much more than the other cars, as the weight changes, the weight distribution changes when you're using the fuel.
Indeed,
so all the more not worthy.
And one thing that will have to be kept in mind is he gained most of the time during the last set of pit stops. So the question is, how did he gain 20 seconds? All in all, maybe. Oh, actually, maybe he did only right side tires in that stop.
That could be a part of it, but I think Jacob, I remember that from racing against him and watching him in races. He's very, very quick at the pit stops. He's the guy who is breaking the last when he's coming. Oh, look at that. He just made the fastest lap.
Wow.
He's always the guy who is going so quick in the pit lane and then hammering the brakes the last. And he has that kind of skill that he really makes the most of even the last tenth when it comes to placing the car in the pit box and coming out of it also very quickly and getting up to speed. So there's, mind you, there's a lot of time to be gained when you are going for a pit stop, because if you are just there in turn 4, you need to pick up the moment when you lift off the throttle. Well, look at that. I mean, he's coming into the pits. Okay, you gotta pick the moment when you're going out of the throttle. You need to pick the moment when you're braking. Look at that. I mean, sliding the wheels there up into the last moment. Yeah. And then be ready there for the moment when the car, when the crew is releasing you, to be already on the throttle. Now, you might also be lucky because there are no other cars in the pit lane coming, so you can maybe accelerate very quickly. Look at that. He's already with the RPMs high, out here, there, and very quickly going for it. There's also the speed that you can put when going here on cold tires into the apron in turn 1. And also, look at that. He nearly slid there up into the track. There's also this. I mean, you're here going through a very narrow accelerating lane. But if you make the most of it, like you can go like maybe 5 to 10 mph quicker than the rest of the guys when you're coming out. And in the end, all of that adds up and gives you like maybe 2 or 3 seconds advantage after you have done with your pit stop.
And he might need that extra time because that's another 30 lap stint. I reckon he'll need to extend his later race stints quite a bit.
Yeah, and I think we're seeing the effects of that fuel consumption already, because Grant, for example, is now in the lead just by the fact that he has been stretching one more lap in the last stint his fuel. If he can do that now and he can go for another lap, he might come out right behind Jacob, but I mean, this is something that will be very sizable when... Oh no, he's going in the pits. Well, this would have been something very sizable at the end of the race. Oh, look at that! I mean, Grant is also storming through the pit lane.
Holy! Oh, I'm very fortunate the car in front is stopped ahead of his pit stall and not at before it as such.
Yeah, which is actually Brian Janik.
Oh, it is indeed. So Janik pitting a lap earlier than him as well. So let's see, where is Fredriksson?
Janik, who is
Fredriksson has already blown past. Fredriksson has already blown past, but William is still out there. When Janik with a long stop, maybe in for the repairs.
Yeah, damage, that's for sure. Now I can see he's missing, at least in my screen, the front suspension, and that's very likely because crew is changing it.
Oof. So presumably that's why he dropped time towards the end. Jereb is out as well. Whatever happened to Raul Yareb? Let's see if we can catch what happened to him. Looks like it may have been a lap or two ago, but we're going to give it a good hot go.
So Jacob Williams is now leading for the first time. I don't know when he made his pit stop.
He is.
Let's check that.
I think he has. One,
He
maybe
hasn't
two more
stopped yet, no.
laps.
He hasn't stopped yet. He
Let's
stopped
see.
at lap 64. And
Raul
I
Yareb
yeah.
just entered turn 1, just maybe 2-3 miles per hour too quick. Rear end couldn't hold it enough, and it slid out. And unfortunately, he was about to save it, but ran out of road and hard into the outside barrier, lost a wheel.
so Jacob Williams, the leader, is now signaling pits, and he should be going in this time.
Yep, and Wilkes coming out of the pits as well, from into what looks to be probably 6th by the time Sabre has flown past. Here comes Jonatan in 7th as well. He's lost a bit of time to Wilkes.
And here comes the leader. Jacob's in the pits now.
So he's saved. He's on lap 95 now.
Oof.
That is-
Locking it there.
That is a lot of saved fuel. He's done a really good stint in terms of fuel.
Really,
that's-
really remarkable.
I reckon that's maybe 2 laps of fuel saved this stint. That is incredible.
So,
Very-
Fredriksson back in the lead for now. Just overtook fellow Swede Anders Nilsson. And he's heading now into turn 4 to complete that lap. Oh, and I
there's a
can see
spinner at the
smoke
front
there.
end, yeah.
Yeah, that was a spin. Fortunately, it doesn't seem to have hit anything. That's
Jon
Tim
Tim
getting
is
up
slow
to
off the
speed
turn.
again.
I wonder if it was Jon Tim then.
Yeah.
Oh, it was.
And
Entered the final turn, put the power on, and I think there was just a bit too much power, but he did a fantastic. that is a fantastic save, to be honest. He span, but he was able to get enough wheel spin in it to keep it low. Span, kept it spinning, went to the inside pit apron, and span one more time, and then got going again. Fantastic save.
that's a Hollywood stunt.
Indeed. And I noticed Yannick wrote in the broadcast chat a simple oops, so must have been a mistake somewhere, but all in all, looks like the car ought to be repaired soon and he'll be able to get back out running if he ain't already. He's still in the pits, unfortunately, but hopefully the car will be repaired so he can continue. Brun Chacon with a bit of a dodgy pit exit by the looks of things, but didn't get in the way of anyone, so hopefully we'll be okay. Hackman up to 9th now with both Yareb and Yannick in trouble. Jon Tim 8th, Nilsson 7th now, Wilkes 6th, Sabre 5th, Bors up to 4th then, and William in 3rd. Riddle 2nd, and Fredriksson 24 seconds ahead in 1st. Something else about about the Buick as such. Listening to it, it sounds so lazy.
Yeah, it's a big block. I mean, never intended to be a high RPM screamer, but certainly, well, a car, an engine that you could get a lot of power out of it, and the reason being you got more cubic inches, and especially you were allowed more boost, which when you got a turbo obviously is absolutely essential. the offset of that was obviously the extra weight, the extra fuel consumption, and the lack of reliability. And the reason coming from that is that being a stock block, you had at least the base of it that was actually the same block that you put in a normal road car. So metallurgically wise, which is actually your field of expertise, Jonathan, you know that it's not going to withstand the same punishment that a dedicated race block.
No, indeed, indeed.
And we're half past the mid of the race. We're halfway through the race. 100 laps now for the leader.
Indeed, and with that, let's have a look at the trivia question and answer to it. So, the question you had about 30 laps ago is which driver achieved best Indy 500 finish for the Buick V6 engine? A. Poncho Carter, B. Al Unser, or C. Jim Crawford? I saw one answering A, quite a few B's in the chat, and I think you answered C for Jim Crawford.
Yeah, let's go with that. I would have said Pancho Carter, but I thought, nah, it's too easy. So let's go with Jim Crawford.
Alrighty, and the correct answer is B, Al Unser.
No!
Indeed, third in
The one I had
1992
discarded first.
in the STP
Oh my
Conseco
goodness.
Menards entry.
Well, at least I did right not betting for Pancho Carter.
Indeed. I didn't expect that. Well, I suppose if you want a questionable engine to have a good finish, put it in the hands of one of the best drivers ever around the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
True. Yeah.
A bit like...
Actually, looking now at the picture that you put in the screen of that car, I reminded that, yeah, that was indeed the fact. And you know something? I've got that car in model. I just had forgotten about it completely. Oh my god. Okay, well.
Well, that's a bit of an oops.
It's, by the way, one of those years that I would love to do in a mod, you know, from the 90s. Some really good racing there up to 96 when the split absolutely destroyed American open wheel racing.
Indeed. Unfortunately for us, the great battle we were seeing has sort of dissipated with the demise of Yannick, down to 21st now. Bors up to 4th, 10 seconds behind William, who is himself 13 seconds behind Vidal, who is now a full 28 seconds behind Fredriksson. Saber as well, further 37 seconds behind behind Bors, and a full lap behind Fredriksson. So it looks like a 4-horse race for the time being, unless we start seeing reliability issues.
Very dominant performance by Jakob Fredriksson so far, but like we have repeated many times, the reliability of the engine is always the open question. And no, that's not to invoke the admin course, you know. I mean, to be honest, the Buick doesn't even need the admin course. So.
And unfortunately, Yannick has decided to retire the car. Seems like it couldn't be repaired to a level of drivability to where he felt comfortable enough to continue. That's really unfortunate. We have Coxon in the chat, and he's saying this is bringing back memories of last year. Good stuff indeed. A full 30 seconds now, the gap between Ferguson and Riddle. And I wonder if that is Ferguson just going hell for leather and hoping for a yellow to save fuel. Definitely seems like the way most likely to go with the strategy for him. I suppose one we haven't spoke of, but who I believe are running the Honda engine is Jonatan in the Hemmelgarn racing entry. Me not knowing that much about the Honda itself, power-wise, not quite as much output I reckon as the other two, but how is its being a Honda reliability and fuel consumption at, would you say?
It was an engine in the early stages of development here. It was very closely related to Jude back here. I don't know if it even was labeled like that. I don't think so, because Honda were already labeling it like that in the American market. But yeah, it's an engine that wasn't as powerful as the other ones, as the Cosworth or the Chevy, but it was an engine that got a very good fuel consumption. So if you're not in a sprint race and you're in a 500 miler like this, then it was actually more competitive than you could at first think. I mean, it's not for any reason that these cars have been considered off limits for quickest drivers, because they can make very well with the fuel consumption.
That's an interesting aspect to follow for Jonatan, especially then, with less than half the race to go. When everyone else slows down, maybe he will keep the same speed and be a very happy bunny indeed. Although right now 2 laps behind Jakob Ferguson, that is quite a tall order. Here we have one of the drivers that got in the race, but as we mentioned earlier, the car was qualified by yourself. From what I understand, you've also tried to help David a little bit with setting the car up.
Yep.
That is that an 86 or an 85 March?
That was, let me check that. I think that was an 86, if I'm not wrong. That was an 86 with it was an 86 with a Cosworth engine. Yes,
So
it's actually the same combo that the car that won the race in real life, mind you.
indeed,
March
indeed.
86 Cosworth. So
Which must have stung for all the March 87 chassis runners.
yeah, the 87. I mean, the problem with that chassis was that some teams were not really able to get it up to speed as it was supposed to be, and some really struggled. Famously, for example, the Marlboro team cars, Patrick Racing cars, they ran those 87s, but they never really were too competitive or on the speed with those cars. In the case of the Penske team, this is the race where they decided to bin the Penske PT16, and they returned to the 86 because they knew how to set it up, and it was a known entity. They put the Chevy engines in there, which gave them obviously an advantage over any other 86 chassis, but that was it.
That's interesting. So the 86 chassis could be said to be the most
So
consistent
Jacob
handling.
is coming now to lap Juha Boss. Not yet through it, but wants to lap him.
Oh, look at that
We'll do
pace
probably
difference.
now. Yeah. But it's look at that. I mean, it's here in the straights
Mm.
where everything is happening because in the turns it's well, he's staying with you with Yuha actually, but it's the straights where this car is actually stretching the legs and leaving everyone behind.
Indeed. And I did see a message in the broadcast chat. Brian Yannick unfortunately locked up and hit the pit wall on pit entry,
Ah,
and that's why he had quite a bit of damage to repair, and unfortunately too much damage for him and the pit crew to repair properly. So Fredriksson now lapped all the way up to fourth place. Third and second still within the lap. Juha just off the lead lap, so still within striking distance. It's incredible to see the pace that Fredriksson is able to get out of that Buick. It's if he gets this to the finish, this will be a masterclass in the race, but obviously there's so much left. Oh no, there's a spinner run off! Who is that? Oh no, 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 no! You have Bors caught up in it as well! You have Bors is out!
ah, damn it.
That was August watering off in the turn and Bors got caught up in it. So let's see what happened to watering. Oh no, both of them tangled! Oh dearie me. Aye, 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 aye. So I wonder if that happened afterwards, but that was watering on the inside line. Bors trying to go around outside, but both of them got caught up, tangled with one another. That's highly unfortunate, but I wonder what happened elsewhere, because there was another set of tracks, tire tracks, I think. Was that both of them then? Yeah, it must have been. So unfortunately that's a retirement for both. Oh, and Greg Della Cella's out as well. Maybe that's the one who went off in that situation as well. No, that looks like an off in a different part. Goes into turn one, spins on the exit, power slides, and I wonder if he may have stalled the engine. Or simply said, nah, I'm getting too tired, this is not worth taking anyone else out for it. And that's unfortunate watering as well as you have Bors out. Aye, 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 so both Patrick Racing entries out, lap 115. That means Nilsson up to 6th, Wilkes up to 5th, Tim up to 7th, Hackman up to 8th, Lavachta up to 9th, and Hedison Oliveira will break into the top 10 in a lap or so's time. Maybe 2 laps time. That'll be a good reward for Hedison. I think this is his first Indy 500 with us, so he's technically a rookie as well.
This is now actually a situation where people could think, oh, shame we haven't had yellow flags so far, cautions thrown and that, because in that case, second classified Grant Ridal and also Jacob Williams would have been very close to Jacob Fredriksson and all that. And yeah, that's partly true. But mind you, Jacob has a faster pace than them, and he would leave them again probably behind. But if we got yellows, who that would benefit is actually Jacob, because he's the one who is using up more fuel. So believe it or not, for the guys who are behind, for Grant and William, it is better that Jacob is some distance ahead, but we don't get any yellows.
Indeed, indeed. As we are joined in the booth as well by Juha Boos. Condolences. That looked unfortunate
Yeah,
for you.
well, it was. I thought he went for the low line. He didn't, and well, you guys don't feel the same piece of tarmac,
excuse
so that
me.
was it.
Please excuse me for a moment. We
Oh,
got
Jacob.
Jacob. Yeah, in the pits now, and
Oh, and he's
he
missed
had
his
to
pit stop
reverse
twice.
this time. Yes, and it's lap 190, which is actually 120 as soon as he crosses the line. So he keeps it at 30 laps per stint. So that means that he is not going to make it like this. He will need to really, really bring down the boost in the last stint, or maybe even prior to that.
That is quite telling for sure. There goes William up to second, but that's quite telling too. Just as Fredriksson leaves the pits, Jacob William comes up to take second away from him. That's quite a substantial lead. But back to the other driver we have in the booth. You up until that point, though, it looked like you were having a good fun race out there.
I did. I was slowly catching Jacob, but I think he used less fuel than I did. So maybe it wouldn't have worked out in the end, but I think I was heading for 4th or 5th at least. So unfortunate, but
Ooh, that's I think that's Jonatan in trouble in the pits.
no, David Saber.
No, that's David Saber. That's even worse. Sorry, Jon. Or David. And David is out. Oh, dearie me.
Yeah, he blew his engine.
And he was having such a good race too. Oh well. And I think you were one of those that came upon the quote-unquote big one about, would that have been about 49, 50 laps in?
I did, yes.
That looked very scary from our point of view.
It was. I just aimed for the gap, which was there, and hoping it would still be there. But yeah, that was a bit scary. Thought I was going to hit someone. Oh. Didn't help me. It lasted twice as long, but still no finish.
Well, in a way, I suppose you could look at it as you're getting closer.
Well,
that was a good run up until that point.
Well, I usually get it to this point, and that's when it goes wrong. I usually retire when I'm a bit further forth. That's my yearly party trick, really, but I never managed to actually get that place. So I'll have to try again.
Indeed. As Grant Riddle is into the pits, lap 1, 2, 4.
And we got Jacob William on the lead.
Yes, indeed. And we know he saved a lot of fuel last time out, so...
Yeah. Grant is coming out of the pits now, but I think he will nearly be lapped by the leader. Let me see what the leader is. Yeah, he's in the main street now. So it's going to be like 32 seconds behind. Jacob is 9 seconds behind the leader, which is another Jacob. I should say Fredriksson and William.
Yeah, interesting to see that Fredriksson lost quite a bit of time with that pit stop blunder. He had a 50-second lead. He dropped nearly 20 seconds on that to Grant Riddle.
Yeah, that was quite some bad pit stop, unfortunately for him.
That may not seem relevant to some of you watching right now, but losing 20 seconds in the grand scheme of things could come back and cause a lot of issues come in the end of the race for him. As here comes, I believe that's Wilkes, and I think that might be Jacob William in behind. No, it's not.
Anders Nilsson is pitting.
Oh, it's Nilsson indeed.
And so is John Team.
Oh, it's Jon Tim, that's the one.
Yeah, but he's just entered the pit. Parking it right in front of Marazzi, and Wilkes is leaving pits.
So Wilkes rejoining in what looks to be 4th. A lap behind 3rd. Here comes Nilsson rejoining in 5th by the looks of things. And here is Jacob William into the pits. So here comes Fredriksson to take the lead back once again. Here comes Hackman in 7th at the moment. Let's see, where is Grant Riddall in relation to William then? William exiting now. And here comes... No, that's Lapinski and Wattman. Where's Grant? Grant has lost a whole heap of time.
Still on the front straight.
Well, there he is indeed. He's lost a whole heap of time compared to William.
Coming very quick now, anyway, because William is now limited by the narrow lane. I think Grant is going to overtake him. Yeah, because William, I don't think he will be able to get up to speed before the turn.
Oh, it'll be tight though.
Yeah, look at that. I mean, that's the thing we were talking about when we talked momentum. Okay.
Oh, but can he hold it on the track? Oh, just about holds it off the wall. So
well, William is still on cold tires. So
oh no,
see
Peter
what happens.
Hlavat just retired.
Yes, he blew his engine 2 laps ago.
Oh.
Oh, William, look at that. I mean, I think he cranked up the boost. Well, he knows he has more fuel leeway than Grant probably, so he probably wasn't shy to put some more boost in there. Too wide into the turn, that was excellent driving there. But Grant prevailed, at least for now.
Indeed. That's probably a... Let's give it a try and see if I can get him. Okay, no, well then, I'll stick behind, save a bit more fuel here and be happy. It's unfortunate for Hlavat, we're now down to 16 runners in this race. Which is roughly on par, I think,
15.
Race. Oh, 15 with Sabre, yes, indeed.
Yes.
But it's still roughly on par, I think, with a real-life race. I think 8 or 9 drivers finished that race as it crossed the line and was classified as such. That Cosworth really screams. He's sitting on board here with Jacob William. I can understand why few drivers have said I'd rather not drive the Cosworth for a full race. So Grant holds on for now. In other news as such with these sets of pit stops, Fredriksson enjoys a 37 or so second lead to the duo behind. Wilkes, a further lap behind, is rejoined in... Actually, wow. Nilsson is in 4th. I thought Wilkes was in 4th, but Wilkes is in 5th. I wonder if Wilkes had a bit of an issue. Oh, Wilkes had a... Ooh. No, that's just replay. Okay. Huh. Well, Wilkes has lost a little bit of time to... No, he's back to 4th, so that's... yeah, that was a bit of a connection glitch, causing him to miss a checkpoint for the lap time counter, I believe. But he is in 4th indeed, ahead of Nilsson, who comes here. And then we have Jon Tim in 6th for Hemmelgarn. Hackman is currently 7th, with Hedison Oliveira up into 8th now. He'll, I reckon, be very happy with that. Filippo Marazzi is running in 9th, with Bruno Chacon in 10th, the final points paying position for the trophy points being handed out tonight. David Wattman is running in 11th, with Peter Hlavat retired in 12th. So Luciano Rojo will be 12th in a few moments' time, couple of laps maybe. Schlapinski will be 13th. Simon Wattman will be 14th. Michael Drexler will be 15th. I feel like we've missed someone. It'll come back to me at some point. So quite interesting, keeping a 30 lap count, but sooner or later surely Fredriksson needs to slow down. And I reckon the fight that is happening now, sort of fight between Grant and Jacob, will be suiting Fredriksson to a T.
Yeah, he's in the lead now, and I think that whatever next pit stop he does, when the moment comes, is going to be quite defining of what's going to happen towards the end of the race. Because remember, anything pitting before 60 laps to the end, and he's in for an extra pit stop, or he must tone down the boost dramatically, and that's going to hurt big time. Especially because his advantage isn't really that big right now.
No, indeed, that lackluster pit stop really cost him. For sure. Oh no, Hedison Oliveira has retired.
Engine
like
blown up.
Yeah.
The second after Peter Lavak that we get today, and I'm afraid not going to be the last one that we will be seeing.
Probably not, no. Looks like it happened.
Grant and Jacob are right now again very close together.
And that's a substantial oil fire for Hedison's car. That's very unfortunate. Right, back to the action.
So like I said, Jacob William is catching up on Grant Ridal. He has been there steadily following him. They are on a very similar pace, and both of them obviously can go quicker if increasing the boost, but it's Jacob right now who has the advantage in terms of fuel usage, because he has been doing nearly one more lap per stint than the others in all the stints. So, I mean, he has an ace up his sleeve when the race is coming to an end. But I think what he's going to try is the undercut in the next pit stop. Not going to risk it in track unnecessarily, and I'm not meaning risk it in the overtake with Grant, because Grant is obviously a guy that you can very safely dice with on the track. I'm meaning in terms of engine temperatures, because to crank up the boost and go here for the kill overtaking means that you're going to stress your engine, and that means also in turn that your reliability is going to be hurt, and you might very well see the life of it cut down for some laps, which should be enough to put you off the race.
Indeed. And as we've seen, engines have started to go. So it is definitely a keep in mind what have you done so far and what do you reckon you can get away with. As we can see, Wilkes about to be put 2 laps behind the leader now. There he goes. Here we see one of those that have been tagging along quietly in the background. Not doing anything foolish, just keeping the car running in Anders Nilsson in the Wentz entry, 5th at the moment. And keeping well within distance of Wilkes. And here we have Filippo Marazzi running 8th at the moment for Alex Morales. I suppose in a way we could say our in-house Fabrizio Barbassa.
Except he's in the wrong car.
Well, we take what we can get in terms of that, right? Italian, enjoys ovals. There you go.
And Jacob's Fredriksson's lead is actually even increasing, and I think I'm looking at his driving in the cockpit, and he's not over-revving the engine, but he for sure has no mercy in terms of the pace that he's keeping up. He's probably happy with the temperature the engine is running, and I'm starting to think that his strategy right now, being as we are 60 laps away from it, is go like hell, build up the biggest gap that you can do, and then when the moment comes, tone down the boost, but with enough gap that if they want to catch you up, they are going to have to up the boost themselves and kill the engine by over revving and going into higher temperatures. That's the only thing that I think Jacob can do at this point, because otherwise, I mean, with 30 lap stints as he has done, I'm pretty sure that if he doesn't want to go over the fuel limit, he needs to tone down the boost dramatically in the last stint. But as I say, that could be the bait for the other guys to increase immediately the boost, go for it, and maybe blow the engines on the way.
Indeed, indeed. That is definitely a bit of a cat and mouse game that could be incoming as we near the end of the race. Speaking of which, nearing the end of the race, let's bring up another one of the trivia questions. So the second question for you this evening is, in what year did the Indiana State Legislature pass a bill prohibiting commercialized sporting events, including the Indy 500, from being held on Memorial Day? Was it A, 1923, was it B, 1953, or was it C, 1963?
I'll go with A.
1923 from Juha. Any thought right now, Alberto, or do you wish to think about it?
Well,
for a bit?
to be honest, I have absolutely no idea. but since I don't seem to recall big changes from that in the way that the Indy was advertised and all that, I'll just say 53, just because it was some years after the war and maybe they did a big change back then. So I'll go with B.
We'll know that in a few more laps' time. We'll wait until the next pit stops and we'll bring up the question and the answer to that one and the final trivia question, so you have something to think about in case engines go boom and it becomes somewhat of a just
That's interesting.
Yeah, I suppose that's the way to put it. Likewise, a quiet driver in this race so far is David Wattman, currently running 10th and doing a very good job in that 86 March. Again, staying out of trouble and making old Salt very proud. Have Luciano Rocha as well. I think the final Penske racing entry still running the Pennzoil number 8 machine. Likewise, by the looks of things, staying out of trouble and having a good race so far. And in recovery mode we have Cesare Ślepinski in 12th for the Doug Shearson Domino's pits entry. As mentioned in the qualifying broadcast, numbered number 30 because the slogan back then were your Domino's pizza will be delivered in 30 minutes or you'll get it free, I think was the wording.
Yep.
Which, to be fair, also explains the way the pizza delivery guys were driving in Home Alone.
Well, he's losing the pizza battle tonight because Anders is in 5th and he isn't.
Indeed. But there's still time to go, so...
Yes, and he probably catch Luciano, who's in the pits now.
Yep, he's going past him, so Luciano Rocha pitting on lap 137. And Cesare Ślepinski for now up to 11th. I think that's a bit of a seesaw battle.
Yeah, I'll check when Cesare's last stop was.
Yep.
That looks to have been, let's say, lap 112. So he's getting there closely.
Yep. A little bit further behind them is Simon Wattman in the Newman Teamworks entry, the car he also drove last time we did these cars for a championship run, and doing a good job so far, running in 13th as I mentioned and staying out of trouble, which is definitely something you need to do in these 500-mile races. And further back more is Michael Drexler, the final car running in 14th, and while not quite having been able to stay out of trouble, he has been able to keep the car relatively undamaged. A couple of repair works, but at least within reason of what the pit crew can sort out.
I'm still running, so...
Indeed, indeed. Lap 149, I reckon this could be the lap, or maybe... Oh, maybe Fredriksson is actually... he's dropped a little bit of time from the lead he had, I reckon. That could be him trying to save a bit of fuel now.
Well, he says got the pit sign up, so we might expect a pit stop soon.
Oh, but he's made at least one more lap in this stint.
He has been slowing down a bit, not much, but a bit. Probably trying to save some fuel. And right now, if he enters right now, that would be again perfect 30 laps.
Yes.
So even if he cut down the boost or lift a bit or whatever tactic he used, that didn't work. I mean, he wasn't able to even get one single lap out of the fuel tank more. So, like I said, big drama towards the end because he has now guaranteed,
another stop.
Yeah, 30 laps more to go. That's for sure. But that's 180. So, I don't know. I mean,
I suppose the question now then becomes: does he have enough fuel to brim it, say, with 30 laps to go?
Yeah, because it's not just a matter of making it. Because I mean, the game will give you the. What's going on here? Did he stop again? Okay, because the game will give you the fuel, but you might get disqualified later on when we revise the results.
Indeed. But either way, here he comes. Jacob William just gets past him to climb up to second for the time being. I wonder, with 40 seconds and the boost he can run, if he's making fuel to where while he has to make a splash and dash towards the end and take no tires. Would he have enough of a gap to make that work and make that a possibility for him? Because he's now 12 seconds behind Brandt at the end of his outlap. If he can gain another, say, 10 seconds or so this stint, that could be nigh on exactly what he needs.
Grant is signaling pits.
Oh, that sounds rather early for Grant compared to what he's done previously.
And so is Jacob, but it could be the automatic response from the crew that is detecting low fuel. We will see. Now that's another lap for him. Should also be the case for Jacob William.
Yeah, Jacob goes for pits.
Oh, he does? Wow.
Oh, he does. Now that's interesting.
Yes,
Although
so much fuel
somebody else
previously.
stopping there, Adam Hackman.
Yeah. Although in any case, the last pit stop, maybe they are going to. I don't know. Maybe he cuts it. Well, we will see. I mean, this is where it is.
"16-second stop."
Yeah, that sounds like a short fuel.
Well, that doesn't sound like 4 tires, because mine used to take 20 seconds.
Maybe he's trying to gain a bit of an advantage here.
Grant in the pits now.
Wow, so they are definitely struggling here. In that case, or maybe they feel they've back-timed it so they can run more or less as fast as their engines can do now, and just do one more stop with 70 laps or so to go, maybe 25 laps to go.
Grant,
Ooh.
I'd say just under 15.
Yeah, that was very close to stalling the engine on the get-go there. They definitely gained more time on Fredriksson this time. Ooh, that's a bit naughty, Grant, but no car near, so I suppose that should be fine. So 25 seconds gap, that I don't think is enough.
Whatever the case, I think that Jacob has brought stock block further down the race than we have had ever so far.
Indeed.
And I think Grant will still have to stop, because there's no way you can do the same distance. Well, the remaining distance on one tank.
No, indeed.
So I'm not sure Jacob is at a disadvantage here. Maybe he'll have to put in more fuel, but I think he's got it worked out.
As long as the engine lasts and he has fuel to burn. I think the one sitting nicest at the moment is Jacob William, though. He's been saving the most fuel, I reckon, out of these three.
Yeah, he's got an extra. I was going to say he's got an extra lap over Grant, but I'm not sure on that.
He probably has more than an extra lap based on how many laps he saved earlier.
Yes, but this time he stopped a lap before Grant did. So.
Indeed.
We'll only know at final pit stop.
Yeah, but I think that's all back timing, just setting it up to where they can brim the car and run a little bit faster and hope it lasts for the last 25 or so laps and see if they can catch Jacob.
Wilp's now heading for pits. Anders has already pitted.
This will be interesting to see. It was a 10-second roughly gap between them after the most recent sets of pit stops.
"16 seconds.
Yeah, it looks like everyone is trying to back time their pit stops here. It looks like the gap will be roughly the same between Nilsson and Wilkes as well, so definitely everyone now more or less on the same kind of pit stop strategy. In the top, say, 5, maybe 6. That sounded like Grant is running quite hard at the moment, but still losing time to Jacob hands over fist. But it does look like he is slowly... Actually, no, that looks like William is actually closing in at the moment.
Well, I can tell you that Grant might be closing in to Jacob, but he's going really slow. I mean, 46 seconds lap as compared with the 44s he was doing steadily. And now he's absolutely steadily doing 46. So let me check what Jacob is doing, but he must be doing real crawling right now. Actually not. So it must have been... Yeah, but Jacob is very well into the 45s. I mean, in the case of Grant, that must have been 2 laps where he was slower, but Jacob is really going slow.
Yeah, it looks like Grant is the one running slow in the top 3 at the moment. Jacob maybe not blasting it completely, but not flying either. Like not going snail's pace, he's definitely going to. Oh no, Jacob William has blown!
Oh no!
Ups. I think that's the case of him having overread. I saw him hit the limiter several times when exiting the pits.
Oh dearie me, that's Jacob William out.
Yeah.
Pulls into the pits. So from third, on for a really good finish. Unfortunately, that's the end of his race. That's highly unfortunate. But a really strong showing. That was very impressive to watch. So that means we now have effectively a 2-horse race for the win between Fredriksson and Riddle.
Yep.
As we can see, that a smoke pillar as the pit crew tries to get to grips with the what looked like an oil fire in the back of Williams's car. So that elevates Wilkes up to 3rd, Nelson up to 4th, Jonatan will be up to 5th, Hackman will be up to 6th, Marazzi will be up to 7th, Chacon up to 8th, David Wattman up to 9th, and I believe that was Rocha up to 10th. And Wilkes only 3 seconds ahead of Nilsson, so there could still be a fight for 3rd place. With the second to last pit stops done, 162 laps, 163, 64 laps in the books, I believe now. Let's go ahead and have a look at the trivia question and answer to the second one, and then I'll let you ponder the final one for the final 37 or so laps. So the question was, in what year did the Indiana State Legislature pass a bill prohibiting commercialized sporting events, including the Indy 500, from being held on Memorial Day? Was it A, 1923? Was it B, 1953? Or was it C, 1963? We have an answer for 23 and 53 from our two co-commentators here.
So I went with B, let me know.
Yeah. The correct answer is A, 1923.
Ah,
Yay.
Juha was right.
So,
At least I won something tonight.
yeah, congratulations, Juha. Very nicely done. So, for the final trivia question this year for the Indy 500 is which driver's team won the pit stop competition in 1987? Was it A, Danny Sullivan? Was it B, Mario Andretti? Or was it C, Bobby Rahal?
I think B.
I'm sort of happy for myself because I actually know this one. Only one I've known, but we'll get back to that towards the end of the race. Back to the track and the action.
I think the battle for third is the most interesting one.
Indeed, it looks like it.
With Wilkes and Nilsson just being split by Marazzi and more traffic ahead of them, it appears.
I reckon the end of the race after the final pit stop, the front might get closer and be more interesting. But for now, let's indeed follow this two-way fight, where Nilsson is eking ever closer, little by little. With Williams' car for a moment and look back where we can see Anders Nilsson's white Wentz car closing in.
Wilkes is losing a bit of time there behind the lapped car, so
Nilsson really closed up.
yeah, he gained half a second over one lap, and I think he's going to gain a lot more weight. Yeah, he's trying now, is he?
Yeah, that was a bit of a what you in racing would call a power slide, but you don't really
I call it a wiggle.
Yeah, around here, wiggle is not a nice thing. Power sliding in road racing, yeah, that can be nice.
Not on ovals, no?
No, definitely not. That's why I said road racing, not oval.
Yeah, the gap was 7 seconds before the previous 7/10 of a second before the straight. It's now down to 3/10 of a second. 4/10, sorry.
Yeah, it's definitely close now.
I wonder if the traffic ahead of them is going to influence them. I hadn't paid attention, but actually Jacobs put a lap on Grant.
Wow. And that's exactly what Jacob wanted. Now we can definitely pace this race. Try to save fuel if he needs to.
I think he's got everything going for him if that engine lasts. And we can afford to back off.
those, do you dare let him back off? Like, is that when things happen? Like, similar to in, that would have been 1995, in the Bathurst 1000, the baby-faced assassin, can't remember his actual name, had been running in the lead for the whole race, just being nice, kind to the car, running with very lean. Meanwhile, Larry Perkins had been thrown the car on this co-driver like I think we're trying to break it. By the end of the race, the late race yellow and safety car meant that the field bunched up. Leader, the assassin, decided, oh, I better get him. Ooh, as Nilsson really loose. Felt like he needed to open up a gap, put a bit of pressure on the car. Took like 5 laps of running it a little bit harder, and the valve spring broke. In this case, I would say it's sort of the reverse. You run it leaner, and not as much fuel is going in, not as much air, and the compression is different, and that could possibly cause issues as well. But either way, the race is definitely on for third. Ooh, that is an aggressive lapping. Well, it looks like he will... No, Nilsson dives up the inside of Rocha to stay on the rear wing of Wilkes. And if you don't mind, guys, could you keep a track on the pit stops? Because I reckon we're closing in on the final stops for these guys if they are going to just count back and stop it with 20 to 25 laps to go.
Well, the last stop, Jacob was on lap. I'm gonna make sure I get the right.
150.
Yeah, thank you.
Dead on. So that was 30 laps per stint up until then. And
Grant was 154.
he should be stopping at... Yeah. So I guess Jacob should be stopping at 180 if he had kept the pace, but since he has been saving fuel, I don't know, maybe he gained 1 lap, 2 laps, not sure. But I'm pretty sure that his last stint will be that slow, that's for sure.
I will most wholeheartedly concur with that.
Wilkes is now trying to lap David Watman, which allows Anders Nilsson to get really close to him and actually initiate an overtake.
Ooh, getting real close to 3 wide. Nilsson is passed. Nicely done. Slapinski has retired. Maybe with the strain he was putting in the car.
And Drexler has apparently lost some bits.
Yeah,
Unless some... Yeah, but he's left the pits, well, on my screen anyway, without wings.
It looks like Slapinski just pitted and parked. Let's see if we can catch Drexler as well.
Well, I'll try to find out whether that happened.
Let's see, he at least had wings and stuff coming into the final turn.
Yeah, that's...
No, sorry, that's the second turn, right. Third turn up.
He actually knocked his wings off on the pit wall.
Ooh.
The inside pit wall. That's quite...
Oh, so that looks like a late... That looks like a late... Oh shit, I need fuel.
Yeah, and Cesarius blew his engine in the pits.
Yeah, oh well. That's very unfortunate. Oh, Drexler back in again.
Yes, of course, but he's running out wings, so he has to pit.
Oh, I thought his pit crew would have repaired it since he lost
No,
it, but maybe he
no.
didn't set it up quick enough. And Rocha into the pits as well. He's in a bit of a troubled situation, but he gets in all right anyway.
Yeah, well, he moves Drexler out of the way.
Indeed,
Forcefully.
indeed. When it's one of those, well, I need that space. Would you mind?
Move.
Right, so Nilsson a 7/10 gap now to Wilkes. But I think now it's more of a case of when will the guys start to pit. Here is, I think that's that would be Jonatan, I reckon. Yep, it is. And for his presumably final stop, 175 laps finished.
Yeah, he can do that. He's completed 175 laps.
So that's 25 laps to go.
Well, that seems doable for a final stop.
Indeed. And let's see, this should be the lap for Fredriksson unless he's saved fuel. So let's see if he pits at the end of this lap.
Jacob signaling pits.
Oh well, and he's sticking to it. It'll be interesting to see what kind of pace will he be able to run for the final stint.
Well, I think
sorry.
I think the thing to note here is that even if he has been going that slow, he still has managed to do only 30 laps on the stint. So it doesn't seem that because of going a bit slower, his car is really saving that much more fuel.
Indeed, indeed. But here comes Jacob.
So I'm not sure what
nice
he's going to do now.
Really,
I mean, if he has used up the full tanks up until now, which is the logical thing, he knows exactly how much fuel he can put now, because that hits you the limit. And, well, now he knows he can't go over that, so let's see what happens.
18 seconds, that's a slow stop, actually.
relative, yeah.
4 tires, maybe?
Yeah, he definitely took 4 tires.
But he's still leading Grant, so...
Yep, and Grant still has to pit too.
So Jacob is...
Definitely in the box seat.
Yeah, he's got it. Well, he's got it if it doesn't blow up, or unless he has to slow down a lot. Meanwhile, Grant is being under threat for Anders, who's unlapping himself.
Indeed. Grant looking to need to save fuel to make the end too.
Yeah, Anders lapping 2 people and unlapping at the same time. Wilkes is out. Wilkes is out.
Oh no! What?
Wilkes' engine has blown. Yes.
In the pits. Well.
Yeah, that happened going into turn 3, I reckon.
No, it just happened literally in the pits.
No, it happened. He blew his turbo coming through turn 3.
Okay.
White smoke, so the turbo went for him, unfortunately.
Okay, sorry, I missed that bit. I only saw the smoke. But yes, you're right. The 0 RPM.
Heave-ho, got really close, but no cigar, unfortunately. On Tim up to 4th then. Adam Hackman up to 5th, so consistently sticking in there and doing a good job. Marazzi will be up to 6th in a few laps, Chacon 7th, yes. Wattman 8th, David that is, Rocha up to 9th, and Simon Wattman in a few laps time should be able to climb to 10th and get a few points tonight.
Yeah, Anders Nilsson, who wasn't intending on racing, still gets another 3rd just by being there.
Indeed.
And obviously being very quick in older March. Being there is a bit, well,
he has been there. He's been in the top 10.
Yeah, he's been there, but it's like saying he's not going quick enough. So no, he's reliable and he's still there. So.
Indeed, he complained that he was starting to feel getting old, but
yeah,
experience has its benefits too.
The old man is in 3rd, and the youth is watching. So.
Indeed.
Hackman in the pits.
Yes. Both Grant and Anders have signaled pits. And Anders is pitting, and this is lap 182 for him, so...
There goes Hackman out
Grant goes by, though.
Yeah.
Yep, so Grant will be able to do one more lap, seemingly. When is that? Oh, that was Drexler. It's one of those, you look down the straight and you think, damn, they are going slow down the straight, and then you see them streak into turn 1 and you go, nah, they were going quick.
17 seconds for Anders, roughly.
So presumably 4 tires, even if it was a shorter fuel stop.
And now Grant heading for pits
Yep, so let's see
at
what
the
he
end
decides
of
to do.
lap 183.
Well, if he has any fuel to burn, now is the time.
Oh,
no!
he spins!
Oh, dearie me!
Yeah, now he's to reverse.
Yeah,
This is
that is
costly.
costly. Oh, dearie me.
And I hope he hasn't suffered damage, because he has to switch that off. Oh dear.
Oh,
Well,
that's a real late race tiredness mistake, that looked like, just locking the rears on the way in.
Yeah, because otherwise it's very uncharacteristic from Grant to miss it like that.
Indeed. I reckon with that, maybe Fredriksson could effectively run off the boost and be good.
18 seconds. So,
Yep,
be interesting to see
4
how much.
tires then.
Anders now exiting. Well, no. Turn 2. Ah, okay, the lead is still big enough, but.
Indeed, but it's like a lap and 3/4 the difference. So.
No, just 3/4 of a lap, not a full lap.
Oh, you mean to Anders, right? I was thinking to Fredriksson as well.
Okay, sorry. I was thinking the difference between Grant and Anders.
Yep. So this could definitely be the danger point for Fredriksson. While he may run the car very lean, obviously he will need to keep concentration up, because there's still 13 laps to go as he crossed the finish line this time around. And doesn't look like he is slowing down at all.
There's a 32-second gap between Grant and Anders. That looks very unlikely to be doable in, well, the 13 laps they have remaining.
They should definitely be difficult, but if the racing gods wills it and all that. But at the same time, I think all the drivers now are more feeling like, I just want to bring it home. I'm tired. Because they've been driving for over 2 hours and 20 minutes. Was that a bit of a smoke signal? Oh, it is! Bruno Chacon has blown his engine with 20 laps to go for himself.
Oh, Bruno's usually the reliable one.
Well,
Yeah, but we're now in barbecue territory, so...
Indeed. I would say Bruno is very consistent, but unfortunately unreliable, but unfortunately his engine wasn't tonight. That's unfortunate. But he may still be able to be classified, depending on how many laps he has to Drexler. But we'll have to wait and see for that.
Well, I'll check. Drexler was 8 laps behind, so we should be able to close that gap.
Indeed.
If his engine lasts.
Oh, that's that aspect too, indeed. This is definitely the time when the engines are strained to the maximum. Final stint of the race and all that. Let's jump on board with Fredriksson for a lap here and watch the man in action.
We have a late pit stop from David Watman and Marazzi.
I reckon they've run fuel dry for this stint.
Mm.
Jacob getting very close to the yellow line, then trying to put a lap on Hackman. It's interesting riding on board that Buick. It barely makes a sound when one is on board it. It's uncanny. Especially compared to, say, the Cosworth in Grant's car. But Nilsson's still third, Jonatan in fourth. Doing very well for Honda, representing them well. Edmund Hackman in fifth still, with Felipe Marazzi up into sixth, with the demise of Wilkes. Rocha up to seventh. David Wattman then now up to eighth. Chacon and Wilkes still within the points at the moment, but Simon now exiting the pits. 2 laps to gain back. And Drexler further 2 laps back as well. It looks like Nilsson is settled for third, so the main question now is, will the engines and drivers last the distance?
Yeah, the worrisome part is that it can blow up without any previous warning if the engine has exhausted its life. So watch at the end of the straight if there is any slightest hint of a puff of smoke, because that could be the only telltale sign. And so far I don't see any of that in Jacob's car, so
Indeed.
seems to be looking good. And you know, there's a random factor, so it could very well be that Jacob was especially lucky with this engine. But we'll see. I don't want to we get the usual broadcasters course shenanigans in the chat.
Yeah, we'll seem to have to wait and see for all the remaining drivers. Oh, Drexler has retired, so Chacon will be classified for points. Like you said, Drexler, looks like the engine may have gone.
Yes, it's an engine fire.
Looks very similar to what happened to Wilkes earlier. And that's at the end of the straight when it's at its most vulnerable. Highest pitched and it just detonates. A huge oil fire too. Oh, that's unfortunate, but good fortune for Bruno Chacon. He will be classified for points no matter what happens. Now actually 2 laps the difference between Grant and Jacob.
With 4 laps left to complete. Okay. 3 laps remain for the Buick.
putting another lap on. I reckon that's David Wattman, maybe.
Yes.
Ooh, and that's Grant striking the wall on the exit of 4.
Yeah.
So 2 laps to go here.
On the penultimate lap. And something nice for you to point out: half the drives in the remaining in the race are Swedish. 5 of them.
And quite realistic, we are 8 drivers remaining in the race. 9 drivers remaining in the race, and I think that's roughly what the amount that finished in the real life race too. But here comes Fredriksson to catch the white flag to signal the final lap of the race. And all he needs to do is keep the car running for, I'd say, another half a mile to a mile or so, and then he can just coast to the finish. And what a masterclass of a drive this has been from Jakob. He's really shown his racecraft on ovals is really, really good for these really long races.
Yeah, I don't think that many people would have bet for the stock block at the beginning of the race. Me for sure not.
Neither would I. It's the biggest surprise we could expect.
So Jakob will be shouting and be very happy in the booth, and as will Jason White, I reckon, with the Buick finishing and winning the race. That is absolutely fantastic. What a race from Jakob. That is really, really impressive. Grant finishes second, and a very good drive from him as well. Anders Nilsson has finished in third. Really, really nice race. Jon Tim is yet to cross the finish line, but he looks to be heading home for 4th in this race. 4th for Honda. That's a very nice result for the Judd Honda Power and Hemmelgarn Racing. Adam
and I think we can expect now Jakob to drive into the winner's circle.
Engine after the finish. Oh dear, that's cutting close. Marazzi has finished 6th, with Rocha finishing 7th. David Wattman finishes 8th. Simon Wattman 9th, and Brun Chacon, last classified points finisher, in 10th. Further retirees
and there goes
Drexler. Oh, I can hear a stock block being revved in the victory lane.
Yes, there he goes in victory circle.
I reckon he's very, very pleased with that.
Yeah, it's even survived the burnouts at the end. So
indeed,
that's something.
That is quite impressive indeed. Oh, and that's, I think that was Hackman rolling past with a blown engine. So let's go, the rest of the retirees were Wilkes, Drexler, Schlapinski, Jakob William, Oliveira, Hlavac, Saber, Bors, Watering, Della Cella, Janik, Jereb, Tim, Oscar that is, Ray Riddall, Santo, Jason White, Schurer, Curtis, Petrovsky, May, and Bouchard was our first retiree, and that's the session over on the server. So let me very quickly try to get to the broadcast software and switch screens. There we are. And speaking of the devil as such, let's bring our race winner Jakob Fredriksson into the booth. Jakob, that looked like a stupendous masterclass of a race. Congratulations on the win.
Thank you very much. I need to go buy some milk.
Oh, come on, you're a Swede. You should have some at home all the time.
That was honestly the easiest race I ever done. I couldn't believe how good that went. Like, how is it even possible to do 200 laps? So, like it's second nature. Like I was born to do laps around this track. I mean, Not one detail, except for the pit stop that I overshot, could have gone better. Everything went perfectly.
Well, that's usually when you win the 500-mile races. I know that happened for you. Would have been maybe 2-3 years ago now at Pocono as well.
Not Pocono, but won one other race on a 500-miler, I think, at Ontario a few years back.
Ontario it was, right, yeah.
But the best result I ever had at Indianapolis was like 7th a few years ago. Blew up from a 3rd place 2 years ago when we did 78. So, I mean, the plan was minimizing risk. I did not take any risk at any time. So, I mean, yeah, I'm not very surprised over my own driving. So, very, very happy.
Well, it's
Well, and on top of that, you've proved that a stock block can win, which is awesome.
That was a big key to this win, and that I had horsepower advantage. I made a tank of a setup. I have no oversteer, not trying to push my luck with if I would overheat the tires and with any understeer. Just go as smoothly and slowly as possible, but still achieving the highest top speed. And a low downforce setup helps with so many things here. It helps with fuel mileage. It helps with overheating. It helps with traffic. So the Grant and Jacob, they could keep up with me over one clean lap, but I noticed that it would suddenly lose a second or two, and I guess that was due to traffic. They had to pass them into the corners, not out of the corners.
And I think you got away and may not have even seen it, but we had a big one about 50 laps in. Did you get anywhere near that, or did you have the fortune to be in the right place at the right time, so to speak?
I didn't see any weird actions, overtakings, or crashes right ahead of me. There was a big one that took out many cars. I was completely oblivious to that. Sorry to hear about that, but that's the nature of this kind of racing also.
Indeed.
Mm-hmm.
Any further questions from you two?
Not for me. I just want to congratulate you on driving basically a perfect race except for that stop. So well done. It's well deserved.
Thank you very much. I will have a few beers now. No milk, but whew. Nice. Thank you very much.
Big congratulations. That was a masterclass.
Yeah, congratulations.
Well, that's our race winner here tonight, and before we finish off, we'll have a look at the trivia question, the final one for the evening, and bring up what is coming up here at ISO, and then I reckon we'll finish up with some final thoughts and then cap off the broadcast. So the final trivia question was, which driver's team won the pit stop competition in 1987? Was it A, Danny Sullivan, B, Mario Andretti, or C, Bobby Rahal? Any thoughts from you two?
I think I'll go with Andretti, so I'll still go with that.
I'd go with Sullivan. I think I saw something to that effect somewhere long ago about the Penske team being so good, but let me fail for the 3rd time straight in this broadcast.
And the correct answer is, you had the right team, but unfortunately not the right driver. Mario, well, he wasn't in that team by then. Mario Andretti, B team, won the pit stop competition against Bobby Rahal's team. So
you see, it's only good that I did not take part in the race today, because it was certainly not my day.
Well, I got both questions right, but did not me in the race.
50-50 then.
Yeah. Well, coming up here at ISO, we have the 51st Gran Premio d'Italia, round 8 out of 9 for the 1980 Pro Cars, Sunday, May 21st. That is a week from now. Jason, no, I will be in the booth again for that one. Race start at 2000 Central European Summertime. But yeah, what a race that turned out to be. So much interesting stuff happening, and in his own words, a perfect race coming in from Jacob. It's these 500-mile Indianapolis races are always so much fun. Any final thoughts to add on from you guys?
No, I think we were expecting surprises till the end with blown up engines and all that, and we got a surprise in the end, which is a stock block winning. Even if the surprise was that there was no surprise, that we were expecting the stock block to blow, and it was somehow great seeing it made it to the end, but it was as much a surprise as if we had gotten any other possible one. So in the end, I think this confirms the trend of what these races are about, and it's the unexpected happens.
Indeed. Juha, any final thoughts for you?
No, I just agree with Alberto on that. It's unexpected victory, but well-deserved one.
Then with that, and the surprise victory for the stock block, its previous IRL best finish in 1992 was third, but here tonight we saw it win. The surprising always happens at the Indianapolis 500, but with this, thank you all for tuning in. I hope you all enjoyed the show, and I hope you all found it as interesting to watch as we did commentating upon it. But this is sadly our final, as far as I'm aware, 500-mile race this year. So hold on tight, because next year, hopefully, if all goes well and all goes as planned, we'll be back again at the Indianapolis 500. But until then, take care of each other, remember to be kind to one another, and have a great time. Good night, everyone.